Hello guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. In this video, we will be talking about factors of price elasticity of demand, and our objectives for today would be to evaluate the key influences on whether demand is elastic or inelastic, and finally to analyze the relationship between price elasticity of demand, total spending on a product, revenue, both in a diagram, and we will learn how to calculate it. Now, we will be explaining why some goods are more elastic in response than others. So sometimes, if I give you two different goods, you would be able to tell me whether the demand on that good is elastic or inelastic without even calculating elasticity. So when you calculate, you will only be checking for the right answer, like you were able to interpret it correctly. So what are the factors that affect price elasticity of demand? Sometimes, before we even calculate for finding out the answer of PED and comparing it to 1, I am capable of knowing if the demand would be elastic or inelastic. So first, I would start by explaining the demand for a product will be elastic because mainly it might have many close substitutes, so consumers can buy these substitute instead if the price rises. So for example, if I am talking about different washing detergents, if Pril increased the price, you would find out that consumers would stop buying Pril. They would decrease their consumption in Pril and buy instead the fairy washing detergent. Another reason could be if a product is very expensive, such as many luxury items, so even a small increase in price may be unaffordable. Therefore, I would say that the percentage change in quantity demanded would be greater than that of the percentage change in price. And also, there could be one more factor that consumers do not need to purchase the product frequently. So they have time to search for alternatives if price rises. So this factor would be about time, and it's either you can wait or you cannot wait. You have to buy the product right now. The moment I can wait and I am looking for other products, this means that your demand would be elastic. And what about if a product, if the demand on a product is said to be price inelastic? I know that my answer would be less than 1. And this is because the product might have few substitutes or even no substitutes. So I am forced to buy the product. Another reason could be that the product is a low cost item. So it is a cheap product. So, for example, if I need to buy the newspaper every day because I love reading the newspaper in the morning, even if they doubled the price of the newspaper, to me it is still considered a cheap product because proportionally it does not take a lot of my income. So I would say at that point that the percentage change in quantity is less than the percentage change in price. And also, one more factor could be that the product is a need. So, no matter what happens to its price, you would see that people mainly would continue buying that product. So, for example, I'm talking about an essential item and it is needed regularly, such as basic food items, bread, rice, vegetables, and so on. Why is consumer demand for some products insensitive to changes in prices and yet highly price elastic for others? There are a number of factors that can explain whether demand for a product will be price elastic or inelastic. The first determinant or factor for elasticity, it would be necessities versus luxuries. So, for instance, when we demand the product no matter what, it's a need for us. It means we don't really care about the price. So we would say that the demand on needs usually would be price inelastic. Whereas for the luxuries, it would be elastic. The availability of substitutes, so when consumers can choose between a large number of substitutes for a particular product, the demand for any one of them is likely to be price elastic. And when you don't have a lot of substitutes and somehow you are forced to buy that particular product because you don't have any substitute of it, then you are to say that the demand on that product would be price inelastic. Okay? Relative price to income. So, for example, here I'm talking about the proportion of my income as a consumer that is spent on the product. Goods that are cheap, for example, chewing gum, matches, newspapers, we say that they are price inelastic in demand as they do not cost very much, and any rise in their price will only take a tiny bit more of my income. So even if they double the price of the newspaper, it won't really affect my income. All right. And then I have the time. So when I'm talking about time, if the price of a product rises, consumers will search for cheaper substitutes, right? But the longer they have, the more likely they are to find one, the longer time I have. So for example, a large screen television, it is very expensive and it is not a necessity. So I can afford to spend some time looking around for the best deal that I can find, for the best product that I can find. So therefore, I would say that the demand will be more price elastic in the long run. And this is like the summary notes. And finally, I would have the cost of switching to another supplier. So switching demand to an alternative supplier can be expensive, even if their products are cheaper. If it means breaking a contract with your existing supplier. This is because some products, such as a telephone and internet, for example, here in the UAE, between Etisalat and Do contract that I have for the internet, okay, insurance, so TV services, switching from Netflix to any other TV program, they are usually supplied to consumers who have agreed to a long-term contract. These contracts, usually, I would say that they will lock consumers into an agreement with a particular supplier for a period of a year, 2 years, or maybe longer. And it is usually at a fixed price per month. So every month I have to pay my internet bill to Uttisalat. This is my contract. So if I took it for a long term, for a year, let's say, they would give me a special offer, which would make it a bit cheaper. And every month I would pay it in installments. So consumers may have to pay a fee to be released early from these contracts. They may also need to purchase different equipment. For example, I would have to buy probably a new router if I want to break my contract with Etisalat. So it would cost me more. Okay? I just want you to remember that the moment I buy the product, no matter what, usually, and I stay with that product, I would say that the demand would be price inelastic. Whereas when you can quit buying that product or you can wait, you don't read it right now, then your demand would be price elastic. Right now, what we will be doing is to analyze the relationship between PED and total spending on a product. So, for example, I would see why is it important for producers to know what is their price elasticity of demand. So, if the demand is elastic or inelastic, what are they supposed to do to the price? Are they supposed to increase it or decrease it in order to achieve a higher total revenue, and evaluate the implications of price elasticity for decision making by consumers, producers, and even by the government. So we will see how governments react if the demand on a certain product is inelastic, what should the government do at that point? So what is the importance of PED? If the demand on a product is elastic, it can decide to decrease the price in order to increase its total revenue. And at that point, mainly, they would be able to maximize their profits. Whereas when the demand is said to be inelastic, so mainly no matter what, people will continue buying that product, I would advise the producer or the firm to increase the price in order to increase their total revenue. Now here I would like to talk about the relationship between price elasticity and total revenue. Now I know that total revenue is money you receive as a producer from selling a particular product. So I can also calculate it by using this formula, which is the selling price times the quantity sold. The goal of sales is to receive total revenue. The more the revenue that I receive as a seller or as a producer, the better it is for me. Now I want to see why is it useful to know elasticity. It is because I, as a producer, would be able to know what to do with my prices. So for instance, if the demand is inelastic, so I know people are not really affected by the increase in price, I would say that a price rise, it would increase my total revenue. It would be better for me to increase the price of my products because I would be making more revenue since people would continue buying. And the demand is elastic, so it means I would be better off as a producer to decrease my price and my total revenue would increase at that point. Finally, if my demand is unitary elastic, where my elasticity is equal to 1, a price change does not change total revenue. And this we explained it in the previous recording that I posted on YouTube. And we explained it graphically that no matter what, when I am talking about unitary elasticity, my total revenue at any price level would always be the same. And in our previous example, it was our total revenue was always equal to $800. Why is the knowledge of PED useful? Okay, if you sell cigarettes, should you put them on sale? Who can answer this question? So pause the video, think for a moment, and let us see what the answer would be. No, cigarettes are inelastic goods. So when we're talking about inelastic demand on certain goods, it means that the total revenue of them will fall. Okay, this is why do not put them on sales, because to the smokers, no matter what happens to the price, they will keep on buying the cigarette. Second one, you sell furniture or automobiles. Should you put them on sale? So are these luxuries? Are they needs? What are they? Yes, these are elastic goods. Always have the appearance that your product is on sale, and therefore the total revenue will rise. So I will be selling more as a producer and I will be receiving more, which would lead to more profits. Now, right now, I would like to solve with you a simple problem where we apply the formula of elasticity in order to know how well knowing elasticity help me choose the better prices and help me achieve better total revenue. So I have two different scenarios where I am talking about the price of the loaf of bread and the price of the airline ticket. Now, to me, before I start calculating, I know that the bread is my need, so I am expecting to get an answer which is less than 1 when I'm calculating PED. And here, airline ticket, so this is a luxury. I would expect an answer which is greater than 1 because the demand on it would be elastic. Now, before I find elasticity for each and every one, I would like to find the total revenue, which is known to be price times quantity. So here, since this is inelastic demand, I think that it would be better and I would be making more revenue if I would sell my product at a higher price. So 25 times 10,000, 250,000 cents. And at that point, this would be 210,000. So where is my total revenue higher? It is when I was selling at 25 cents. Let me find PED. PED, it's just that I'm applying my formula. So it's 10,500 minus 10,000 divided by 10,000. All of it divided by 20 minus 25 over 25. I would get an answer which is 0.25. 0.25 is an answer that is less than 1. So I did get price inelastic. Demand is price inelastic. At that point here, for the price of the airline ticket, I think it would be better if they would sell the airline ticket at a lower price. Let me prove this by calculating. If I want to find my total revenue, 500 times 1,000, it would be $500,000. And here, my total revenue, 400 times 1,800, it would be 720,000. So where was it better for me? It is when I was selling the airline ticket at a cheaper price. When I want to find elasticity, it would be 1,800 minus 1,000 divided by 1,000. All of it divided by 400 minus 500 over 500. I would get an answer which is equal to 4. I got a negative 4 actually, but remember, I would always ignore the negative. It is just to prove that the price and quantity demanded are inversely proportional. So 4 is a figure that is greater than 1 and the demand is said to be elastic. So here, you guys, when they were telling us calculate the total revenue, I already found the total revenue. When they told me calculate PED, I did calculate PED. Comment on its value. It means to tell me whether the demand was inelastic or elastic. Interpret your answer. It means here for the loaf, because there is a need, you would say that it would be better for the producer to sell it at a higher price because he would be receiving more revenue. And for the airline ticket, since it is a luxury, it would be better for the producer to sell it at a lower price since he will be receiving more revenue. Now here I would like to explain when my demand increases. Please, I do not want you to get confused between the factors of price elasticity of demand and the factors of demand. They are different, but the factors of demand would affect the PED indirectly. Let's see how. As we said, one of the factors is, and I told you to remember, as long as you keep on buying the product, no matter what happens to the price, then you would say that the demand on it would be inelastic, right? So let's have a look at this example here. This is my original demand curve. So when my price was 10, this is my P1, my quantity 1 was 20, right? Now, because my demand shifted to the right, it means demand increase. When will demand increase? Demand will increase, for example, because income increase. Logically speaking, when I have more money, wouldn't you buy more of the product? So as we said, the more we buy of a product, or as long as you keep on buying the product, you would say that the demand would be inelastic. I want to prove that from the graph and from the calculation. So Here, this is my new price and new quantity. It would be 9, my new price, and my new quantity is 30. Let me solve PED for the original demand curve. I'm calculating its PED. It would be Q2 minus Q1, so 30 minus 20 over 20, all of it we divided by 9 minus 10 over 10. This is times 100 and this is times 100. My answer would be, my PED would be equal to 5. 5 is elastic. It is a number greater than 1, so I would say my demand, my original demand curve, the demand on it was elastic. Remember that. Now I want to measure elasticity when I got an increase in demand because my income increased, for example. So let's have a look at the new demand curve. I will solve this with red. So again, at a price of 10, my Q1 was 40. And when the price decreased and it became 9, this is my P2, my new quantity became 50. This is Q2. Let me solve the new demand curve elasticity. Again, I need to apply the formula, the same formula. So it would be 50 minus 40 over 40 times 100 divided by, what is my price? 9 minus 10 over 10 times 100. If I apply these numbers on the calculator, I would get an answer of 2.5. So if I want to compare the 2.5 and the 5, definitely the 2.5 is less than the 5. So I would say that the more consumers want and are able to buy a product, the less sensitive they are to price changes. So a shift in the demand curve to the right, so when we increase our demand, this reduces my PED at any given price. Okay? And if the demand will shift to the left, so let's say because demand decreases, for example, then consumers become more sensitive to price changes and demand becomes more elastic if it shifts to the left. Okay? And so this is what we did regarding unit 2.7. We are revisiting the learning objectives. So you already know how to calculate PED. You should know if the answer is greater than 1, it's elastic. If it's less than 1, it is inelastic. Now, this is a summary for all of unit 2.7. Okay, I need you to take a look at it and read it real carefully. Thank you for watching. That would be it for today. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Have a lovely evening.